West Virginia Mountaineer fans, you've got to be hyped. The quarterback room has gone from where to where. We will break it down. And, of course, more backyard brawl is never a bad thing. So welcome into West Virginia Mountaineers Live. We come your way each and every Friday night, 8 o'clock Eastern time. And our contribution that we get from our family here at the Voice of College Football is phenomenal, including this guy, Travis Kenobi from Last Word on College Football. So check out his work. Again, Travis from Last Word on College Football. Travis, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing well, Mark. How about you?
I am doing great. And even though it's the off season, even though it's typically kind of a dead time, although the transfer portal has changed things in college football, too big, enormous, as we have Gold and Blue Dude joining us as well. So we will wait for Chris to join. I thought he was right there. We'll dig into the headliner here, Travis, because I would love to get your thoughts of a situation in which I consider West Virginia to have had a bottom 3 quarterback room in the Big 12. And now I'm going to say top 3 with JT Daniels.
Yeah, I mean, I think it really is that big of a difference, at least for the immediate term, because JT Daniels, you know, he was a top 3 quarterback in a class that the only 2 above him were Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence, 2 guys who had pretty stellar college careers. And the only thing that really seems to have kept JT Daniels from performing, at least on the very next tier down from those 2, has been injury. And, you know, if he stays healthy, that's just a game changer. There's no denying that.
Absolutely. And again, if you compare it against the competition in conference, there is no more Caleb Williams. The Texas quarterback room is intriguing. It's potentially phenomenal. But Hudson Card won the job last year and was supplanted by Casey Thompson about 4 to 5 games into the season because he wasn't meeting the standard, not playing that well. So he's back in the mix. But, of course, Quinn Ewers is the guy that Texas fans want to see. But enormous talent, of course, the number 1 rated quarterback in the country. But he's never taken a snap. And he's going to face Alabama in week 2. So who knows what's going to happen there. And then you would think Dylan Gabriel at Oklahoma would be the other comparable starting quarterback. And he's certainly thrown for a zillion yards and touchdowns and has a wealth of experience. At UCF, strong competition, but not the Big 12.
Right. Yeah, that's probably that's the quarterback room that I'm most intrigued by, just because I wonder, if he can throw lights out just like he did for UCF in the Big 12, then, maybe we have a little preview of what the Big 12 is going to look like with these teams coming in. But, you're right. It's a step up in competition. And Texas is and has been Texas for a while, where they always think they have this next level quarterback, and they get guys who perform okay. I hope it's different for Quinn. But, you just never know till you know. A guy who hasn't taken a snap is potential but not realized yet.
Joining us tonight on West Virginia Live, we got Dale Wolfely on the line. Now, Dale is a former Mountaineer offensive lineman, 1987 to 90, and currently the coordinator of the varsity club at WVU. Dale, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing good, fellas. How are you doing?
We're doing well. We appreciate you stopping by to provide some insight. It was a big week for West Virginia football, and we would love to get your take. So I guess first and foremost, we start with JT Daniels, because I set up the conversation here with Travis to say I had considered West Virginia to be a bottom 3 quarterback room in the conference last week. This week, I would say it's a top 3 quarterback room in the conference and maybe better.
There's no doubt about it. When you look at last week, you're dealing with 3 guys who have never started a collegiate game. So, of course, and they're young guys, and they all have talent. And I think some of them are going to be really special coming in down the line, down the road. I do got to make one correction, though. I'm not with the varsity club anymore. I left last week. pursuing other matters. So just so you know that, I want to make sure that everybody knows I am not with the WVU Varsity Club any longer. But continuing on here, always a Mountaineer. Getting back to JT Daniels, I'll tell you what, the guy's got a lot of potential, a lot of talent. He's everything you want, except maybe he hasn't proven that he can stay a whole season. I think that's going to be the big question going in. So is he going to be able to do that? I know he's talked about it himself. He's admitted it as too much. So that's a fair question for anyone to ask and see what he's thinking about and how he's going to perform. No one's going to give him the starting job right off the bat, but you tend to think that a guy who's that talented, that much older, that much more experienced will probably have the upper arm. You know?
Yeah, Travis, anything for Dale?
Well, Dale, pleasure to meet you and pleasure to have you on this week. I definitely enjoy having your perspective here. I tend to think, from a coach speaks standpoint, and you're more plugged into the program. I'm sure the coaches are saying exactly what you did. You're not going to hand a guy the starting quarterback position, and he hasn't even been on campus except to visit. But you got to believe that JT Daniels is going to be the starter game one, right? I
do, but again, I'm not a coach, and he's got to go out and win it. You just got to go do what you got to do. And that means you got to go out and perform. And a guy with JT Daniels and his standard, you certainly expect him to go out and play up to what he's supposed to be. The guy's pretty good now. If you look at his stats, the games that he's been there and where he's gone, he's got good numbers, and he sure has the lineage, the DNA, man. You've seen it. So again, I go back to what's the health factor going to be like? So let's hope for the best for the Mountaineers. That's just what we got to do and get excited, enjoy it.
Yeah, I agree.
If you can't get fired up about bringing in a 5-star quarterback from Georgia, then what the heck are you even in the game for?
Right. Well, I have heard some perspectives from fans that really make me scratch my head. Guys that are like, why do we have him? Why is he even transferring from Georgia? Just not knowing anything about the history of this kid. And I'm like, when would you ever pass up a 5-star quarterback for your team? Unless he was a locker room cancer, and JT Daniels is definitively not.
No.
Absolutely. Let me say this. Why would you ever not pass it up, but why would you go after it full speed? If you want to make your team the best team and the best possible chance to win, to have victories, you got to go after the best players that you can all the time. And what I love about this, Neil Brown showing right here, he's not afraid to go after the big one. You know what I mean? He wants the big daddy. And he went out and he made it happen.
Yeah. I think I wonder how much, as a coach, he has so much to do as it is, and then balance, his that work with his life. And he's got, beautiful children and a wonderful wife that I'm sure he enjoys time with too. But he has to listen at some point to fans and what their criticisms are, I feel like, because one of the biggest criticisms of him the second half of last season going into the offseason was that he has not made big enough splashes in the transfer portal with people that we've received. I don't necessarily agree with that, but adding Lynn J. Dixon and now JT Daniels, he made some pretty big splashes. You are absolutely right about that.
Yeah. What I want to talk about is, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, the thing that I've heard the most is the injuries. He's injury prone. And I started looking at that, okay? So, yeah, he did get injured at USC, and then he got injured again at Georgia, okay? So, whenever Tyke Smith transferred over to Georgia, what happened to him? He got injured. Jermaine Burton, injured. So many people get injured over Georgia. I don't know if their practices are too physical or if they're doing something wrong. If you look at West Virginia's injury reports over the past few years, they're actually pretty good. We're good at keeping our players healthy. So I don't think the injury bug.
You want to know why?
Why is that?
Because of Mike Joseph and his conditioning staff. Because Mike Joseph is the best in the nation because he goes for working for the core, the chest, and the shoulders, up to your trapezius. Okay, because guess what? You don't get the concussions because you build the neck, you build all around, you build the muscles underneath the major muscles. He goes ahead and does that. So I'll tell you why that's happening. That's easy. That's Mike Joseph, and I don't want to put the kibosh on anybody and screw it up, but Mike Joseph is the reason, and his training staff, why there are fewer injuries at WVU.
Exactly. And that's why I'm not really worried about it. And that's really the only, strike on JT Daniels, because when you look at his stats, 70% in his career when he has thrown the ball, ridiculous numbers. You can pretty much book him for 300 yards passing, at any given game. When he really goes off, he can, push 500. West Virginia hasn't had a quarterback that can consistently throw the ball for 300 yards every single game for several years, since 2018, Will Grier. So I'm excited about JT Daniels. And let's not forget about Nico Markle. I think this will be a quarterback battle. It's not just, here comes JT Daniels, so he's the quarterback. This will be a battle. I thought JT only had 1 year of eligibility. He actually has 2 years of eligibility. So my biggest question is, if JT Daniels does win the quarterback competition this year and next year, will Nico have the patience to wait to year 3 for it to be his team?
Yeah, I always say I don't have a crystal ball, so I can't go ahead and tell what's going on down the future. But if I'm JT Daniels and I think I'm going to have that kind of year, I don't know if you're here in 2 years. You know what I mean? You might be here a semester, man.
Yep.
But that's just the reality of it, because if he's as good as what everybody says, then you got to expect that he's probably going to be gone. So whoever might be that backup quarterback, whether that's Goose, whether that's I'm drawing a blank, the quarterback. Hang on a second. I got my cheat sheet here. Garrett Gray. Yeah, something like that. But whoever it might be that's in the competition or being a backup, you just don't know. And again, now you just got this. Well, hey, why would you leave now when this JT Daniels has missed 35 collegiate games? 35. Okay, that's not a small number. That is 35 games. So he does have that to prove, but you also might miss an opportunity if you decide to pack out and boogie too fast.
Yep. And, it's not, even if JT Daniels does win this year, it's not a guarantee that he would win it the second year he's here. Maybe Nico's learning curve, isn't that large, and, maybe he's not ready for it this year, but by the time 2023 comes around, he actually is ready to step in the starting position, and that quarterback competition could be even bigger than what we're having this year.
There's a lot of ifs in that, that's for sure. But think about this, Nico. When I watched him practice, and I had him on our Country Roads Trust podcast, and I've never seen a more mature 12th grader. I mean, the kid should be taking his 17-year-old girlfriend to the prom next week. You know what I mean? And he's out here in spring ball. Not only is he competing in a three-way battle, but he is competing with style and showing talent. He's a young kid, and you can see it. I mean, there's no way around it. You've got to go experience through life experiences. That means going through it out on the field. But I'll tell you, that's a special cat right there. And I'm watching Goose, Will Crowder. I see him improving. And Garrett Green, I see him improve. Garrett Green, right now, to me, looks like he's catching on to the offense. It's leadership. So, again, it is not a sign that Dale saying right here, JT Daniels. No good coach would ever do that, ever put himself in a position to say that this is a starting job is guaranteed you. But let's talk about this. Why would I want anyone to ever tell me, companies, that, we're going to start you. We're going to start you your freshman year. And I wouldn't have liked that. I want to battle. Where's the competition? Hey, man, where's your honor as a person, an individual? If you just want to go ahead and take that. I want to challenge. I want to battle. Give me your best shot, because I want to see where I am with that. and I'll give you mine, and then the chips will fall where they may.
Yeah, there's something to be said about earning your spot. There's a big difference as far as your confidence in yourself. When you know you've earned that starting position, you're going to have more confidence than if it was just handed to you. So I definitely 100% agree with that. And, the funny thing is we're talking about, I wouldn't even really call them problems. I would call them good what ifs. We're talking about good what ifs instead of negative what ifs. I think the future for West Virginia is looking brighter and brighter every day. I mean, look, we got Josiah Trotter, the 4-star linebacker, recruiting. I know it's really, really early in 2023 recruiting class, but before that recruit, we were number 18. This early in the game, that could shoot us up to number 10 and solidify a top 25 recruiting class for 2023.
And that would be like again, right? Because then we just
Yes.
do that. And
Yes.
that would be actually the year before, I think, or we were close in the 30s, something like that.
Yeah.
And guys, I'm going to tell you this, and I respect everybody's opinion, and I will say this: until you get on that field, you were at WP. It's great to look at all these numbers. Great to see it. I've seen kids come. I've seen kids go. This year, he's there. He's not coming. Rumors. Oh, I changed my mind. I took my hat off at the last second, put on the other hat at the signing table, the committee table. I've seen it all for years and years. And so I just don't put much fortitude into it until I go do the show the week before. And I just go ahead and credit because you never know what these young people are doing. Social media has got them so distracted.
Yep.
Everything I see, I can't believe some of the stuff. I'm an old school person now. I'm an old man. And the stuff that's going on now would never, ever, ever happened back in the day. I mean, she didn't even have an ESPN ticker. Hell, I may have knocked that out of college if they would have had an ESPN ticker there, because who knows? It's just a different ballgame, different world, and it's hard for us old dogs to see it and understand it. But you have to, because no one really cares what us old dogs think. We don't care. You don't like the transfer portal? Well, I got my thoughts on that too, but it doesn't matter what I think, because guess what? It's here. You don't like NIL? Oh, I'm sorry, baby. I would have been nice if I would have had a couple $100 in my pocket, go out and take my girl out and take her to a movie and dinner. That would have been nice. But it's a changing world, and you got to deal with the times. And us old people have to go ahead and start accepting it because it's here to stay, and no one, frankly, really cares what we think.
That causes me to skip ahead a little bit in the questions that I had for you.
You can skip ahead all you want because I'm an offensive lineman. I can go forward, backwards. I got the feet, man. I'm the dancing bear.
You guys are the
shoot
smart
side to
ones.
side if needed, right?
You guys are the brains.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what. I've been called a lot of things. I don't know if that brains was ever the actual key word, but I'll tell you what. I believe there are some guys on that line now that are the brains. Well, go ahead. Go with your question, man. I get you going. I get all fired up, man. I start driving people all kinds of different directions.
Yeah. Well, my opinion on NIL is similar to yours, that whether we like it or not, it's here and it's not going away. And that leads to some concerns I hear from West Virginia fans fairly often, and that's, we're West Virginia. Can we keep up in that game?
Yeah, we're West Virginia. Is the sky falling?
Right.
Yeah.
The sky's always falling for us, right?
I mean, is the sky falling? No, it's not. We're Mountaineers, man. We're the strong, we're the free, we're the brave, right? I mean, that's what we are. We're always free, man. So I don't buy into it, never have. I came from the 80s, played up. Daniel said, we're going to play one day. He said, God willing, Wolf, we're going to play one day for national championship. And I did. And I believe that man ever since. And he took us there. We didn't get it done. But the sky's not always falling. And landing a 5-star quarterback when you had other teams wanting them and playing in the game. So are we going to lose some? Absolutely, man. It's here to stay. And until they start regulating, maybe windows of that regulation, maybe regulating the tampering. It's the Wild Wild West, man. You might as well get your 6 guns out and start going boom, 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 pop, pop, right? Because that's what it is right now. There are no regulations. There are no rules. And to think that you're going to let anyone from this point on, and probably a few months ago from then on, without the name, image, and likeness being in that equation, you're crazy. Anybody's crazy. You're naive because that is here to stay, and that is going to be big. And let me tell you this. The sky is falling. How do we just land a 5-star quarterback?
Yeah.
How do we do that? Why? How did we get lucky? Did he all of a sudden say, I don't care about NIL? I don't know what the things were behind the scenes, but I'm telling you this. I guarantee you it's in the equation. Guarantee it.
Hey, Wolfman, let me tell you something real quick. So, I've been doing this YouTube thing for about 2 years now. And one thing I've noticed about so-called West Virginia social media outlets and the big personalities, what's been happening is I've noticed there's an agenda that they try to hold on to, and they try to say the sky is falling, this was done wrong, this was handled wrong, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden, we get JT Daniels, and now we're Big 12 title contenders. Where what I've been trying to do is I've been trying to explain to people why these things have happened and not just the sky is falling. Listen, there is no culture problem at West Virginia. So all these morons that have been coming out, making videos, articles, saying that, we're having all these transfer issues because of culture, and then turn around out of the same mouth, tell me, oh, I talked to the players, and they actually said it wasn't Neil Brown, that, this guy had this issue. He wanted to play here. He wanted to play this position. And they had all nice things to say about Neil Brown. So I'm sick of these media outlets that have an agenda and try to tear down a program because they're trying to get clicks, views, and likes. That's not what West Virginia needs right now. What West Virginia needs right now is the truth. And what the truth is, the transfer portal is here to stay. Players are going to leave for different reasons, but on the same token, players are going to come for different reasons. So let's start saying things the way it is, not just having this agenda and trying to tear down the program and build it the way we want to build it. Neil Brown is here for a reason. Shane Lyons bought into I think he brought in a 4 or 5 year plan right off the bat before he was hired. Shane Lyons bought into that for a reason, and things are actually going according to plan. Now, last year, did the end result equal what we wanted to see, 6 and 7? Of course not. But if you go back and look at the season, number one, that Oklahoma game beat us twice. If we would have beaten Oklahoma, West Virginia would have finished 9-3. 9-3. That Oklahoma loss was worth 2 losses. Okay, we lost to Oklahoma. Then we came back home and lost to a Texas Tech we had no business losing to. And I understand that. You go on the road, you have a chance to beat the top dog, and you blow it on a snap. One snap blew the game. And I'm sure Zach Frazier was beating himself up forever. I didn't jump onto him. I saw other media outlets tear him apart over that. I'm like, yes, that snap hurt us, but we were in the position because of all the other snaps he did and all the other plays we made. You want to try to break a game down to one play. Bottom line is, we were in that game. We were like a 20-point underdog. We lost, and we let it get to ourselves mentally, and Texas Tech beat us. After the bye week, we saw that offensive line get better and better and better. And we've talked about this before. Doug Nestor, my gosh, how did he do what he did with that cast? I mean, he had no grip with that cast, and yet he was still one of the best offensive linemen on the line. This year, that cast is off. He's going to be putting guys on the ground. That offensive line will be better this year. Mark my words, will be better. We saw him get better week after week after week in the bye week, and now Doug Nestor does not have that cast anymore. They've come together, another offseason together. That offensive line is the key to our success, and that offensive line is going to be elite. I truly believe that our offensive line is going to be elite this year.
Well, they already are better than last year. They had another winter conditioning. They had their first full winter conditioning in 2-3 years. Being able, and that's obviously we know That's huge for offensive and defensive linemen, for every player, but especially those guys to make sure. You've been off a lot there, man. So I'm going to have to attack this a little bit, one at a time. Let's go back to.
You can ask them. This happens all the time.
No, it's all right. So go back to what is going on in the locker room. So the last 4 weeks, I've been doing this Country Roads Trust podcast, and with Amanda Maisie, and we've interviewed, I think, 24 players and 4 coaches, including NB. And what I'm getting out of this podcast every single week of these 24 players has been that they love their teammates. They love their program. Not having some guys around can be a good thing too. You can have cancers that cause and create negativity all around. It goes in this way. You just talked about what some outlets have been doing, talking the negative. Well, let's think about this. So if you have a guy in the locker room who's negative and he wants to bring you down and say, "Do you believe Joey over there got that starting job over me?" Come on, man. This is Bush League, man. We got to start thinking about transfer portal. Or do you want a bunch of guys in the locker room that love each other, that are high-fiving each other, that want to sit there and block out the noise? Okay, so that's what I was telling you the last show, is that it goes all the way from the team to the university. Everybody come together, man, and block out that noise. Then it goes to the state, and then it goes all the way out to all of Mountaineer Nation. If you can do that collectively and stop blocking out the negativity. Now, you got to understand, there's a thing called negativity, and then there's a thing called constructive criticism. And constructive criticism is always good. It's self-evaluation and evaluation from others. And it is always good. So you have to look at that. And don't ever get that confused. People say, "Oh, what says all positivity? Oh, this is bad." No, that's not what I'm saying. Listen to what I'm saying. I'm saying is constructive criticism is good, but do it constructively, Dart. Read up the definition if you don't understand what that means. And just coming out with negativity all the time, what always mean the sky is falling. That's not a Mountaineer. That's not a Mountaineer. Okay? I lived it. I breathed it. I know what that means. That means that we're fighters, man. And we're not going to sit there. We're going to get up and we fall down. I fall down a number of times. Number of times. But I'm still here to this day because I get back up. I get back up and I keep playing. And that's what this team is all about. That's what Neil Brown and his staff is all about. Things have not gone the way that he hoped so. I can guarantee you, he's not gone the way he has hoped upon these last 3 years. But I don't know if any coach can come in and deal with COVID, deal with the whole reconstruction phase of his whole facilities, and working out in trailers and trying to recruit in trailers and doing all the things, the obstacles he's had. Okay, and I'm not going to make excuses. I'm just saying is the dude's a fighter. He keeps getting back up. He just landed, Daniels, for crying out loud. That's after losing Akeem Messidor, who I'll say again, I really like the young man, but I think that was a big loss. That was a punch in the gut. I mean, I even bent over in the gut, man, hold my gut, because that hurt. That hurt. I could see that Neil Brown had hurt the staff. Because all they put in for it, all the evaluation. So again, is you got to do this. What did I say the last time? Where did the dude go, by the way? Did I drive him off? All right. So this is what has to happen. If I'm Neil Brown, I tell my coaches, and I'm not going to tell Neil anything, okay? But sometimes I try to, and he doesn't listen to me. You can see in the background, I have conversations all the time. But what you got to do is you got to become the best coaches about the transfer portal. So if the transfer portal is going to be here, we have to learn how to recruit the best from that transfer portal. We have to be the best. Not like, oh man, the transfer portal's here, it's closed. No, we have to recruit the best. And I think the players that we lost, a lot of them, when you look at Detroit Fortune, God bless the young man, he's a fine young man, but he just ended up at a University of Texas San Antonio. Is that what he's thinking about when he left? I don't know. This transfer portal, the grass is not always greener on the other side. So, again, is become the best coaching staff you can be, recruiting the transfer portal, and you will have success.
Dale, I got to real quick. Dale, I got to figure that JT Daniels was sold on a couple things here. I got to think a player of his status and his position is thinking about the NFL. So he's looking at where can I be coached and developed toward the NFL? And number two, where is there personnel around me, an offensive line that's going to protect me, keep me healthy, and personnel and weapons that's going to help me put up the kind of numbers that I need toward the NFL. And then the third component, I don't know that we can really measure. It's a feel thing. Like, I really liked the campus, the culture, the coaching staff. We gelled, that sort of thing. So do you see that or anything else that probably swayed him, leaned him toward West Virginia?
Well, I think it's being familiar with Grant Harrell.
Yep.
There's no doubt there's a relationship right there. Neil Brown's one of the most likable guys you're going to meet. If you could measure coaches by how likable they are in the first 20 minutes you meet them, because how many kids are going to be sold because they meet these people, be turned on, be turned off. First impression is everything. I will tell you this, I think it's all of it, Mark, to answer your question. It's all involved. And again, knowing that Graham's going to throw the ball, knowing that he has an offensive line that's going to protect him, knowing that he's got wide receivers like BFW, Bryce Ford Wheaton, and Sam James with his speed. We just did an episode with him. He's funny as heck, and he's ready to roll. Confidence is just illuminating out of it. And I will say this. I would think if I was JT Daniels and I had, was it Oregon State, and who was the other one? I forgot.
Missouri.
Who was the other team? Missouri. I would be like, yeah, I want to go here because Graham's going to put the ball up in the air. I'm going to take long shots. I got receivers that can catch it. See, the problem is this. If you can have all the best receivers in the world, and you can have all the best linemen in the world, but this game is built, offensively, is built around the quarterback. You have to have that guy to get that ball to the running backs, get that ball to the wide receivers, and execute the offense. And if you don't have that, you don't got jack.
You know what makes me say, you know what?
Go ahead, Chris.
Here's what makes me think that Wolfman is 100% correct about the relationship between Graham Harrell and JT Daniels. Okay, so what was understood was JT Daniels was going to take the visit this past weekend, and then at the end of April, he was going to make this decision. And that's what's supposed to happen whenever you're trying to compare where you fit in, the facilities, all this other stuff. That's not what happened. That's not what happened at all. He took his visit 3 days later. 3 days later, he made his announcement that he's coming to West Virginia. And it's exactly because of what Wolfman said. That relationship with Graham Harrell must be a heck of a relationship because he chose almost instantly. So I think they have something cooking and that they have a plan that we don't even know about. I think the offense is going to be explosive this year. I'm excited.
Well, don't forget too. I mean, I'm down here in Atlanta, so I hear the Georgia fans and the Georgia writers and the Georgia folks, mumbling and saying what they say. And it was really the day he got back to Georgia that word started getting out that JT Daniels really loved his visit. I mean, they were talking about that. And the day before he announced, there were 5 or 6 different Georgia writers and radio talk show people saying, we got word JT's probably headed to West Virginia.
Yeah.
I mean, he was telling
a lot of reasons. I'm going to tell you this right now. When he enrolls, you'll find out a lot more because there's a lot of people at work here and doing good stuff for West Virginia. A lot of people fighting for the Mountaineers. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people going out in the line and a little skin in the game, I'd say.
Yeah. Absolutely. I'm actually near your neck of the woods, Travis, because I live in the upstate of South Carolina, and you're exactly right. In fact, I had some Georgia writers because I'm a part of a big YouTube community, and they were saying, "Hey, you need to put out the video that JT Daniels is coming to West Virginia because that's what's happening." And I wanted to so bad, but I had to wait for confirmation from either JT or West Virginia. But to your point, you're exactly right. That's what Georgia people were saying. The Georgia writers, anybody that had anything to do with either JT Daniels or Georgia, they were saying he's made his decision. He's going to West Virginia. We already know this.
You know, I would say, I'll tell you, man, is that this is really, really impressive. I think as we go on, we're going to find out a lot of behind the scenes stuff, and I think it's really going to be impressive and speak highly
Yep.
of WVU. And again, do I know who's going to be the starter? No, I don't. Do I think I know? Yeah, I can give a guess. But you got to go out and do it, man. Iron sharpens iron, man. It's said it back in Proverbs right there. Iron sharpens iron, man. And that's what competition does. So everybody's got to raise up their game. And I know West Virginia, these young guys. I just saw Joey said something about go watch the Country Road Stretch podcast that we just put out there. And I would, because it's all about the players and the coach that we just had, 4 of the coaches on, but it's really 6 players per episode. And it's full of who they are, what they are. And when you watch and listen, you can listen to them. You can see, man, there ain't no culture problem here. There was maybe, but then again is you get those dudes out. God bless them. You're not a Mountaineer anymore. You're gone. That's great. Okay, best wishes to you, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart, because they're not all bad kids. But what I'm going to say is, man, for the people that are here, people that are in that locker room, again, they go back to they like each other. 24 players I've interviewed the last month. They love their brothers. The offense is talking to the defense. Now, there's always a little bit of animosity going on there, a little bit of competition, right? But they're like, man, we want to get at each other. And, I see, they have some fights that break out, little, things. But at the end of the day, it always like you walk off that practice field and you go and say to your brother, hey, man, hey, we got hot there, but guess what? It's okay. We shake hands or we give each other a hug. And that's the way it was for us when we played back with the Mountaineers, because you never take a problem off the field. What goes on between those white lines on the inside, that's just football gladiatorship, and that's just trying to be the best and the fierce competition. When you walk outside those lines, that's your brother, man. I don't care if it's defense. I don't care if it's your punter. I don't care if it's your kicker, whoever it might be. That's your brother, and that's where I see this team is. And you go watch those podcasts if you don't believe me, because that's what you're going to see from them.
Oh, yeah. I've watched them. That is very accurate. Another thing that this has done that people aren't talking about, I think with JT Daniels coming to West Virginia, that's going to open the floodgates for all these higher caliber athletes that are going to jump in the transfer portal, because the spring games, not all the spring games have been wrapped up. There's still spring games to come. And once that happens, you're going to see high caliber talent players enter the transfer portal, whether they don't fit the scheme, they just want to go to a different place, change the scenery, whatever the case may be. And with JT Daniels choosing West Virginia, that helps open the floodgates for those players to want to come to West Virginia. So I don't think he's just helping West Virginia now. I think he's helping the future of West Virginia, getting those, 4 or 5-star transfers, and that's going to trickle into recruiting. We'll start. I firmly believe we will start recruiting 5-star athletes. And to be honest with you, I think Wyatt Millham is already 5-star. He just wasn't labeled a 5-star. But under Neil Brown, we will get a 5-star, a labeled 5-star.
Yeah, Wyatt was a 5-star. There's no doubt in my mind. I saw him from the very beginning. When you want to talk about this, did you ever watch the movie Happy Days? It might be too old for you guys, right? Have you ever seen the reruns?
It's a good show.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, who's the coolest dude in the park? It's Fonzie, right? Well, listen, when you're a Will Greer, when you're Pat White, when you're a Major Harris, Mark Bulger, I kind of like hanging out with these guys. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, Fonzie, everybody hung around Fonzie, the cool dude. Well, everybody wants to hang with the cool dude, and I think that JT's that guy that will come in and be the cool dude. Now, I also want to say this about Nico, because I'm telling you, that is one of the most mature 12th graders I have ever met in my life, and I was simply blown away. He was in our first podcast. I was simply blown away by his answers, his composure. You got to remember, what he's doing as a 12th grader, now what's he going to do to take those characteristics onto the field? Okay, I can say the same thing about Goose and really Garrett Green. Honestly, they all got that, that guy, that stride, man. Kind of like was something I lost when I was about 40. I lost that, being a swashbuckler. But that's what they got. They know they got that talent. So again, do you want to hang out with that guy? And the answer for the most is yes, they do.
Yeah.
You might even get lucky with a chick that falls off. You might pick one up to be a girlfriend or something. Because all the girls are there around. You just want to be around the cool guy.
I like what John Kelly's saying in the chat about our running back situation as well. I think, as much as we're going to miss Lady Brown, I actually think our running game is going to be better than what it was last year. We've already talked about the offensive line. They're going to be one, maybe two notches better than what they were last year. And I think the core as a whole is a better core than what we had last year when it comes to the running backs. Tony Mathis, Lynn J. Dixon, those two, it's going to be thunder and lightning. And then you add in Jalen Anderson, the 4-star running back recruit. That's why I'm so excited about this offense. It's not going to rely on.
Don't forget
one
Justin
aspect.
Johnson now. Don't forget
Yes.
Justin Johnson.
Sometimes I forget to say his name.
No, it's all right. But I'll tell you what is that's Mr. Jump Cut. You know what a jump cut is? If I was down in this confined space, I'd show you what a jump cut is. But I break everything and knock it all over.
Yeah.
A jump cut is you jump in the hole, you jump, and it's a quick twitch. It's called the Barry Sanders jump cut. Okay, that's what Justin Johnson brings. Jalen Anderson is doing a fine job this spring. I've seen it. Lynn J. Dixon, he's told Coach Brown, he said, give me the ball 3 times, I'm going to take him to the house one of those times, okay? I know he's this. I know he's got the speed and the juice. And, of course, Tony Mathis, this is his year to really be special. But I do think they're all going to be a part. And the reason, again, is if you look at it, I asked the guys this last week, and I think I asked Sam James. I'm not sure who it was. But I said, do you think there were too many receivers that wanted touches in that room? And I thought they were, for them being most collective, they were one of the best collectively in the Big 12. Not individually, don't get me wrong here. But I'm saying you had all these options, but can you make all those options happy when they want to have the ball? And so now I'm saying that there are fewer options, let's just say, but your running backs are going to have to play a role in this now because now you don't have that plethora of wide receivers. Okay, you got good ones, and you got go-to guys, but now these running backs are definitely going to have to be the throwing game plan even more. And what I love the most, and Chad Scott had on this last week, I said, what's the best thing about the running backs right now in spring ball? And he says they haven't missed any blitzing assignments.
Nice.
Oh,
That's
you
good.
can't say that about last year. No, sirree, because you know what? That was a big, big problem. And if that's being a strong point at this point, we know they got talent. We know they can run. We know we got an offensive line. We know we got receivers that can catch, and we got tight ends. So now, if they can do that and know where those blitzes are coming from and pick them up, man, that quarterback, whoever it may be, is going to love them even more because poor Jared Deggy got killed.
Man, yeah.
Many times. And I'll tell you, that's one of the bravest son of a gun I've seen in years. He was fearless to the point where it almost crushed. I'll tell you what, I got a lot of heart. I will hope that kid does great at Western Kentucky you went?
Yep.
Yeah, I hope he does awesome because that kid deserves it because there were times, man, I thought they were going to have to call 911.
Oh, man. Absolutely. That was a great point you just said, by the way, about how last year maybe we had too many options. And that was one of the biggest whines that I heard in the offseason whenever Winston Wright went to the transfer portal. Oh, that was our leading receiver. There goes our offense. Something bad's going on in West Virginia. Yeah, he was our leading receiver, but by only like 10, 15 yards. And there was like 3 other receivers that were, within 20, 30 yards of that. So technically, yes, he was the leading receiver, but we were a victim of having too many options. This year, I think our wide receivers will be able to get into a groove more because they're going to get more downs consecutively, and they're not going to be subbed in and subbed out all over the place. And we have enough to where depth's not an issue, but we don't have too much to where we worry about our wide receivers getting into a groove. I had to mention that because that was a great point, Wolfman.
No, it makes you wonder for sure. But you got guys that want the ball. I mean, it doesn't make you high guys. It just means you want to make things happen and you're competitive. So again, you want those kind of guys. But sometimes you just got to wonder if the room is there. Maybe you didn't have enough time to throw the deep ball like we wanted to the last couple of years. So the offensive line not allowing that, or the running back missing protection. So there's lots of things. This is not going to go on Jared Daggy. This is not on the offensive line. It's on everybody working together, because that's what an offense is. That's what a defense is. That's what your special teams are. You work together. You're 1-11. Although I do think that the quarterback position takes on more importance of having somebody special in that, because the offenses are built around a quarterback and his skill, but also his decision making.
Wolfman, you were talking about the podcast several times, and
yeah, you like those free hits? We're just trying to pump it, man. Trying to pump it.
Yeah, well, listen, Country Roads Podcast is where it's at. The Country Road Trust Podcast. What do y'all call it? What's the official name so folks can search it up?
Oh, yeah, Climbing the Mountain.
Climbing the Mountain. All right.
But yeah, I know Maddie's she's gonna appreciate that. But
So yeah,
I had to think about remembering
right there. Yeah, let us know what it's all about and where people can find it.
Yeah, countrytrust.com. It's all over there. You can see it. They signed 33 players, or maybe 39 players so far in the trust, and that's all, or 13 sports so far. So they're building it up. I'm going to say this, fellas. People have been asking me and commenting, saying, all I do is see the trust is doing all these podcasts for football and spring ball, and they're doing a lot of content. And why? Or I thought the trust was just supposed to pay the players to go ahead and stay here or come here, recruit, whatever it is. And yes, that's to a certain point absolutely true. But you have to do things too. It's called name, image, likeness. Businesses like to, support WVU and this NIL, but they also want to have something come back to their dollars too. There still is capitalism. There still is America. So if you're going to give some money and then you want them to advertise, so this content thing that we're doing is that creates dollars. So I want to educate people as much as I possibly can in the best of ways, not looking down on anybody, but just saying is the reason why we're doing so much content is that that's going to create dollars for doing it, because just like you said, we're West Virginia and we have to watch our money, because we have to see, we have so many resources in Mountain Nation because we're smaller. We're not Georgia. You're down in Atlanta, man. You know how many resources they got down there. We're not close to that financially. Just for pure number. Pure number. So again, is when we see us doing this stuff, the trust and content, that is because we're trying to raise money for these athletes, and they're doing a fantastic job. Oliver Luck, Ken Kendrick, and there's a guy there that's running here locally, Stephen Ford, who's a good friend of mine. I got a lot of respect. Of course, Amanda Macy's on the team as well, doing a great job herself and working really hard for this, because NIL's here, and we better deal with it so we don't hear that the sky is falling. So we better also become the best at NIL with the amount of resources. So again, are we the best in the transfer portal? Are we the best on the field with the coaches? Are we the best as a community with NIL for the resources we have? That's what we're working for. I'm not working for something to sit and jump on my back and say, no, drag me down. But we're going to go to work. We're going to go be positive for WVU. We're going to go make things happen because we believe. Don't get on my back, man, and try to drag me down, because it ain't. I tell you what, that stuff's going to slip right off. Because I'm going to keep trucking towards the right goal. And join the team, jump on the wagon, man, be a Mountaineer, do all that you can. All that you can. Even if you gave a dollar would help. It doesn't matter, okay? It's you being positive, you being out there, message boards. Don't tell me these kids don't read this crap, because they do. Because they tell me, because I'm with them all the time. And they tell me this. And I'm just being flat out, straight out, truthful. that they read it. So don't think that your negativity or always being negative, because negativity doesn't create any positivity.
Yep.
It never has, never will. And doggone it, man. I played for a national championship. Why the heck can't these guys?
Man, that's some good stuff right there. Exactly right.
Absolutely. Wolfman, I don't want to slow your roll. I just want to let everyone know here, including you, you guys stay as long as you want and talk West Virginia football. I'm just kicking back. I'm soaking it all in. Wolfman, I will not let you go without answering this, though. The other big news of the week, in addition to JT Daniels, was, of course, another 4 more years signed with Pitt for the Backyard Brawl. I need to hear from you. I think everybody else wants to hear from you. What does the Backyard Brawl mean to you?
Wow. That's a good question. And it's almost not fair nowadays to the players now because they really don't know. Because that's your question. It means everything. Pitt is a 4-letter word. I don't like Pitt, okay? I won't let my kids talk about Pitt. I used to show my kids, if they played in West Virginia, I say, this is a picture of Pitt Stadium, and this is a picture of West Virginia Stadium. The Pitt Stadium was empty, and the West Virginia one was full. The only time this one over here at Pitt gets full is when West Virginia plays it, or when Notre Dame or Penn State plays it. That's it, okay? You want to play in front of these guys or these guys? So this game, I think that I just see Pitt come out with the top 10 ranking this week.
Yes,
Yeah.
in the FPI.
Oh,
yes,
FBI. Well,
which I regularly tear to shreds. But go ahead.
You know what? I'll tell you that's a great opportunity for us to get the season started off right. But I'm going to say this too, man. When you play Virginia Tech and Pitt, or next year Penn State, or whoever, and you're playing, was 11 Power 5 teams, you got to watch your back end because that makes it tougher. When you got teams, when you can look at Alabama, how many times they played non-Power 5. I mean, it's built in there, even with FCS. So again, I love it, and I want to play Pitt every year. I wish I could. I wouldn't even care if you switch Virginia Tech to Pitt every other year. I mean, that would be just something fantastic. But it means everything to me to play Pitt again. Thanks, Shane Lyons. Thank the AD from Pitt, because I don't know how much they want to really go against the Mountaineers. But I'll tell you, thank you both, and let's go have some fun, and let's just kick the living you-know-what out of Pitt.
Yes, I'm going to be there.
Oh, I'm sure you will, man. You know what? I'm sure you will. I bet you're going to be wearing those sunglasses and hat, too.
I will. And actually, remember the guy that I told you I had a bet with? He's actually in the comment section. His name is Talk is Pitt. That's him. So he's a lot more nervous now about our bet. So the bet was if somehow, some way Pitt were to be able to pull off a miracle, then I have to wear a Pitt jersey for one episode of my YouTube channel. But when West Virginia wins, he has to sing Country Roads, and I get to record it and put it on YouTube. And now that we got JT Daniels and Pitt's had their spring game and their quarterbacks have looked like trash, don't lie, Talk is Pitt. You're stinking nervous, and you better start warming up those pipes because you're going to be singing Country Roads, whether you want to or not.
He's getting vocal lessons right now.
Yes.
He's got this voice coach warmed up.
He's doing that John Denver karaoke on YouTube. You can look that up. It's there.
I might switch it to a live show.
I'll tell you this. Those Pitt fans get nervous when Mountaineer fans roll into the stadium. I'll tell you that much. Because, doggone it, it's heated rivalry. Heated. I'm ready.
Any seat that's not sold, a West Virginia fan will get it. That stadium will be packed out. And it might be 50-50.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, usually when we go in there, I'll see more West Virginia than we'll see Pitt. But we'll see what happens in a few months. I'm excited. Totally excited about it. Yes. Wait. Is that a Thursday night game now, too?
Yeah, both Pitt and Virginia Tech. You know what happened? So I was already going to the Pitt and Virginia Tech game. And then whenever the news for JT Daniels hit, I started talking to my brother. Now I have tickets not only to the Pitt Virginia Tech game, I'm going to the Baylor game, I'm going to the Oklahoma game. You got to realize I live in upstate South Carolina, so it's not like a 2 or 3 hour drive for me. Like I got to drive to Charleston, which is about 6 hours, and then to Morgantown, which is another 3 hours. So the level of my excitement now, I mean, it was high before, but now with JT Daniels and what I'm seeing at West Virginia, it's through the roof. I'm really excited about this year and the future of West Virginia.
Hey, dude, I'm going to give you an assignment, okay?
All right.
Because I know you like this stuff. I want to know how many other teams in the SEC play 11 Power 5 teams. Can you give me the donut?
Yep.
11 Power 5. So think about it. We got a tough schedule. And
Yeah.
Wait a minute. What was the question? Does anybody else play 11 Power 5s? Was that the question?
In the SEC.
I said it's the SEC.
In the
In
SEC.
the SEC.
Yeah.
No.
That's 0.
No, because they would have to play 3 out of 4 out of conference. Yes.
Yeah. They always get an FCS and then a group of 5 at least.
Well, depending on the school. If you look at Kentucky, Georgia, South Carolina, and who am I missing in the SEC East? The 4 teams that play in ACC, Florida. They add somebody else. Like so Florida's got Utah and Florida State, both.
Yeah.
So they play 2 Power 5s. So does Georgia. They've got Oregon, Georgia Tech.
Yep.
But they don't play 11, do they?
But not 11. No.
Right.
Okay. That was just my point. And I feel like it's not really that much, except that that's 11 Power 5 games you got to get up for. And it could be a long season. Again, there's no excuses. I'm not trying to provide an excuse. I'm saying is, what's the reality? What's realistic? What are you looking at? Instead of just having this glory of 11 Power 5 games. That's tough. That's real tough.
And 9 of them are conference games. That's another thing that the SEC don't do.
Yeah, I mean, that's the round robin. It's just the round robin. So anyways.
Am I going to have to stick up for the SEC in this show? Am I going to have to be devil's advocate?
This was not a hit on the SEC, okay? I know who they are. But what I'm saying is even they don't put themselves in that position.
Wolfman, it's just kind of the role I play regardless. You could be picking on the Pac-12, and I just typically pick up for whomever is getting beaten down.
That he does. But
go ahead with it.
I think the SEC is overblown for the most part. If you really look at how they schedule, it's 8 conference games and then usually more cupcakes than Power 5 teams in their non-com. Now, every once in a while, like Alabama, they're going on the road to Texas this year. You'll see that every once in a while, but for the most part, it's the same old, same old. So it just gets on my nerves and irritates me when I hear, SEC always plays the toughest schedule, only because it's the SEC. So they create their own catch.
They do play the toughest schedules, especially in the SEC West. If you take the schedule,
if you go SEC
bottom, including the conference games.
Well, if you take it, they usually make it to the national championship game.
They are the toughest.
The playoffs, they're playing 2 more Power 5s.
Take Arkansas' schedule. It's brutal.
I did rank Arkansas' schedule the toughest.
For
last
example,
year. Yeah, that they did have the toughest schedule.
Yeah, I'm not here to put the SEC down. I'm making a point about.
And I'm not saying none of them.
I have no issue with that, Wolfman. You do whatever you want, obviously, and I'm not sticking up for the SEC. I'm just I always bring the counterpoints. I'm not an SEC guy, but
and
to
I'm
your
not saying
point,
it's 100%. I'm just saying,
to your point, Chris, that's Alabama's first road game in 11 years.
Yeah. And that's basically what I was saying. And it's not for every SEC team, of course. I mean, last year, Arkansas had the toughest schedule in the nation, bar none, and they still went 9-4. That was impressive. But I just don't like the conversation of every schedule for an SEC team is the toughest and nobody else can come close.
Absolutely.
That's just incorrect. That's incorrect.
Question for you guys. Here's a little trivia question. When is the last time the University of Florida has left the state of Florida for a non-conference game on campus?
10 years.
1991.
Good.
They went to Syracuse in 1991.
Wow, that's like 30 years.
They've played on campus outside the state of Florida.
That's 30 years.
I can recall Baylor when we first entered the Big 12. Man, they never left Texas for the first 5 games.
Oh, I pick on Baylor too. Do you know when I got another one? I'm glad you brought up Baylor. The last time Baylor played a ranked team out of conference.
Yeah. Good luck on that one.
1997.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't play anybody. It's a lot of Sam Houston State. It's a lot of Rice.
McNeese.
A lot of that. They've picked up a few coming up. I think some of these schools that traditionally have dodged everybody have finally been pushed. They've picked up Ole Miss recently. They're coming up on some decent games. Baylor finally playing some out-of-conference games. And we want to credit Peng Dang with your Super Chat contribution, along with Falcon Rex and BGPO Football Funk. But I bring up Peng Dang because he has predicted Baylor to win the national championship. But thank you for your Super Chat.
Really?
If I was him and I was comfortable with that, I would actually lay money on that because that would pay off a lot.
Yeah, I'm going to say this, though, is that this year Baylor had the oldest team in America with fifth-year guys and sixth-year guys. Where are they going to replace that talent that quickly to rise above and do that? That would be my only question, because they had 26 fifth- and sixth-year guys that had to graduate. That was the oldest team. Them in Illinois. I'm sorry, Illinois was number 1, Baylor was number 2. And that's a lot of guys that graduated. So I want to see where that comes from. Because that's a lot of old, strong. Would you say that Baylor ripped us apart, especially on the defensive line to the offensive line? Yeah, they had 5th and 6th-year guys on that defense. and we had freshmen and sophomores. I mean,
they were more mature.
Sometimes, well, yeah, especially in your offensive defensive line, you're in the weight room. That's 2 more years of man. That's being a man. You get your man strength by the time you leave college. You're just rolling into it, and doggone, those kids did learn a few lessons on that one, and they certainly did. And you saw them regroup, and that's why I like that character. Going back to the offensive line, they regrouped to the bye week, and they played a lot better in the second half of the season. Although Minnesota was not great, but they played a lot better during the regular season, and that shows character to me. And that's 5 guys working as one, because that's what an offensive line is. 5 and 1, and then you add a tight end there, and you got 6. They have to work simultaneously, shoulder to shoulder, foot to foot, and that's why it's so important that they have those experience in the games. I mean, if you remember Baylor last year, their defensive backs had 125 starts combined.
Yep.
They're just a defensive secondary. Baylor's 125 starts.
That's insane.
I mean, it's
wow.
I mean, they were so loaded, and that's what people don't understand either. Do I have time to just go this real quick? Do I have time to go over this?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Oklahoma State was one of the oldest defenses in the college football. Baylor was the second oldest, and I'm going by games and experience. Do you know that even Texas Tech had the most fifth-year transfers? I mean, they were a lot older than West Virginia. Again, I'm not giving excuses, but West Virginia had to play all the old people this year, and they were all young. And I'm not, again, no excuses, man. Some of those games, they got the cans kicked, and rightfully so. But there also might be a reason or two behind it. I mean, that's all I'm saying. Yep. And it's funny. Go back and look at that, because I did that study with Tony Caridi, and we're like, man, every week we're lining up against these old players. The only ones that weren't over, Texas was the youngest. We were the second youngest.
Yeah, to your point, Jim Knowles left Oklahoma State as defensive coordinator, went to Ohio State, takes Tanner McAllister with him. He had 41 starts at Oklahoma State. He's probably going to tack on another 14 or so at Ohio State. He's going to have 55 starts under his belt in that Jim Knowles defense he's taken to Ohio State. He can practically help the Knowles coach the defense. Wolfman,
he probably
Wolfman, I want to hit you up on the comment that Joey leaves right here and extend on this point between talent acquisition and coaching and development. So based on where West Virginia is recruiting right now, it sounds like you're optimistic about Neil Brown and like the job that he's doing. For West Virginia, let's say, to be a Big 12 champion, is the recruiting where it needs to be and it's more about development, or how far do you think that recruiting level needs to be raised to win 10 games and win the Big 12, let's say?
Okay, so to answer your question, my Mountaineer brothers here, Okay, I'm saying this. It's a whole new formula. Wipe out, throw out everything you thought about West Virginia and their development to some certain degree, because this has got to be about free agency and who do you have this year. Like I said, I would like to say, hey, I don't need JT Daniels to come in for 2 years, because in 2 years I'm gonna have a special quarterback that's already on campus. You can't think that way anymore. You got to win now. Contracts, people want to win. Instant gratification, man. There is no more building. There is no more, honestly, you got to win now. Neil Brown's got to think about, how do I win this year? How do I win that game against Pitt? And you just saw him making those decisions, those tough decisions about what's this going to do to my team chemistry, bringing this guy in. And I'm sure he went through the whole procedure and found out who this dude is and what characteristics he has. Graham Harrell already knows him well, so he can already vouch for him and say, how is he going to come in and affect the chemistry? Because Neil Brown wants to win this year. He doesn't want to win 2 years from now. He wants to win this year. And it's a whole new formula. So I hope that answers your question, but they're actually working the formula out as it's going right now, because it's so new. And all these NIL and transfer portal, man, that's coming at the same time. Think about that. There's the redshirting equation. Unless you're an offensive defensive lineman who needs that extra year, where's that going to go? You got to play these kids. You got to go ahead and play them. And so I think eventually you're going to see, instead of being 4 for 5, I think you're going to see the NCAA go 5 for 5. I think it's going to head down to that. 5 for 5. You got 5 years to play. Right now they let you play up to 4 games. It's not use the redshirt year up. I mean, that would never happen in my day, And I'm going to say this, and I'll leave it on this one out. Story. Okay. Well, I came in my freshman year. I was 245 pounds as a lineman and a little light in the can, you know what I'm saying. And they weren't sure if I was going to be redshirted or not. This is 1986. We were 4-7 that season. But you got to remember, 88, we were 11-0.
Yep.
Okay, so they're like, all right, we'll get in there, we'll see. I'll go to training camp, go travel the first couple games, never play. But then they go ahead, they put a guy named Scotty Summons on there. 310-pound Scotty Summons was a 3 technique, and he had a huge can. All right, that was a power can. And when he goes out there, and you got to go against him, well, they figured out that I needed a redshirt a year, because at 245, I was really too light to camp, and Scotty Summons ended that season for me and made me go get a red shirt. And that's what I want you to know is by Wyatt Munlum, Zach Frazier, and all these young guys on the offensive line need that year to build up, because you really need it. But the skill guys, no. And so it's changing the whole formula. It's all being worked through right now, and it's not the same anymore.
I would agree with that 100%. And like you said earlier, the NIL and the transfer portal kind of all happened at the same time.
Hey, Coleman.
The biggest question was, how fast can coaches adjust to that? Because it did happen so quickly. Maybe it took Neil Brown a little bit longer, but it looks like he's done adjusted now. Like he's set. He's ready to go now.
Well, I think that the results of this last week, I think the fact that he just keeps trucking along. These guys like each other in the locker room. These coaches like their kids. These coaches seem like they're happy to be here. I think that there's a lot going on over there in Milan Pushkar that is positive for WVU. And again, you got to get through the crap. It's been a tough, year. It's been a tough year. You go ahead, you had basketball woes under that. People are down. People are, they're not happy, and they rightfully so. But doggone, what do you do, man? And when I go back to you got to get back up and you got to keep fighting. Jump, either you're with me or you're against me. If you're against me, get up the dang wagon, or I'm pushing y'all.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you could see the same thing, going on with the basketball, where it wasn't working, and you saw players leaving in droves, and the fans are freaking out. But now we're starting to see Bob Huggins get in better players than the players that left. And that's just the name of the game in football, whatever sport, football, team sports, basketball, baseball. You just have to get in better than what you lost. And that's exactly what Neil Brown is doing. Yeah, we lost some guys, but
don't ever bet
guys
against
that
the
are better.
Yeah, don't ever bet against the Bears. Number one, honestly, he said that he probably did some poor decisions in the crew that he brought in there. And, I think, but it's all brand new, so I think he's working it out, figuring out. Hey, kudos to him, man. Oh God, if I was him, I'd be like, I'm out of here, man. I don't need these kids out there bugging me and transferring away. I'm not freaking Huggins. I'm in the Hall of Fame, man. But to his credit, look at him. He's still there. He still loves his kids. Still gets out there. Still gets after the same way and aggressiveness. He hasn't lost an edge. Not a chance.
Exactly.
No, he's taking players out to dinner, and they're just whining and dining, getting them ready. He's playing.
I want to be at those dinners.
What's that?
I want to be at those dinners.
Yeah, me too.
Exactly.
I'd love to be a
All right. Well, guys, I've really enjoyed my time with you. Thank you very much. A lot of fun. And one thing I can say is this last thing, man, is keep fighting. Go positive, even when it's negative. Find the constructive criticism on that, and then apply it and go get better. Don't sit there and cry, woe is me. We're West Virginia. Yeah, we got our challenges. You sure as heck right we do. But doggone it, again, I'm a proud Mountie man. I have a history. I got pride in my teammates that I played with, my brothers. I was head of the alumni for 14 years here in West Virginia. I got pride in all my brothers and sisters, man, and I root for each and every one of them. And they've all had great successes. So, yeah, hey, we're the 15th winningest football team in the history of college football, and that's not too bad. We need a national championship. I agree. Need to go get it. We need to get more 5-star quarterbacks, more 4-star offensive linemen, defensive linemen, DBs. We need to do all that, and that's just the whole process of it. And you're figuring out new formulas. Remember that. Who's the best NIL team in college football with the resources that they have? Who's the best in the transfer portal coaching? How do you evaluate this? We need this guy. We need that guy. We need this person here. Okay, we lost this one because it's going to happen. We're still going to get attrition. You know that. And here's the best thing. Why is there some locker rooms that have issues? Because there are only 22 positions, offensively and defensively, for 125 players.
Wow.
I mean, even we had players that didn't like Don Nealon, and that's really hard to do. You know what I mean? Or say that coach, he did this, he did that. Coach got rid of him anyways. Got rid of him.
Oh yeah, everything that needed to be done, that's exactly what he's done, and that's why I try to explain my excitement to my fellow Mountaineer fan base. It's not just because of JT Daniels. I've seen step after step after step where exactly what needed to be addressed was addressed. I mean, the Graham Harrell hire, that directly addressed a need, and it was the best of the best. Graham Harrell was the best hire West Virginia could have hired for that position. And now we have JT Daniels. That was the best West Virginia could have done. So what Neil Brown is doing is not only is he making good decisions for West Virginia, he's making the best possible decisions for West Virginia. Whatever the best possible is, that's what he's doing.
Well, the bottom line is if he'll get his job done, he's going to be gone too.
Yep.
I mean, that's the nature of the beast. That's the way
How
the game
goes.
is played. And I guarantee you, Shane Lyons got with Neil and said, where do we got to make improvements and how do we get there? And I'm sure they went through that whole process. I know they did. So, again, let's go, man. Guys, I appreciate it. I got to get rolling now. I got to go watch. I forgot what I was watching. Did you guys ever analyze that? Watching that. Oh, my gosh. Billy Crystal. All right. Everybody, go ahead. I'm going to go back and watch it. But you guys have a good night. Great talking to y'all. Great meeting you two there. And, dude, you're something else.
Have a
Great
good
to have
week.
you, Wolfman. Appreciate you, man. Thanks for
All right,
being
brother.
here, laying down the knowledge. Good
God
time.
bless, man. God bless.
He has a lot of
Golden
energy.
Blue Dude getting the job done here. Travis Kenobi, last word on college football. Another great show here on West Virginia Live for an 18th edition. You guys tearing it up. That was a great show.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he had all the energy in the world. He had enough
Oh, well,
energy for all of us.
He,
For sure.
You know,
For
that
sure.
the energy that Graham Harrell is selling to the offense, I think Dale has a lot of it.
Yep.
That
Exactly.
we can score anytime, we can fight anybody and put anybody on their back anytime, and
That's the offensive line
line.
version of it.
Yep.
So we've got the spring game coming up next Saturday, right? The 23rd.
Yep.
That's right.
So hopefully next Friday we can do it again and preview the spring game and get you guys' take on what you would like to see on the field in Morgantown on the 23rd.
Absolutely.
Everybody head on over to Golden Blue Dude's channel. Got to get there.
By the
Check it
way,
out. Yep.
I'm super excited about my channel right now because I mean, you already know this. This is the off season, the beginning of the off season, transitioning out of the beginning into the middle. So it's kind of slow right now, right? Well, past 2 weeks or so, my channel has gained over 300 subscribers. So I just wanted to thank everybody for, helping this channel grow, especially in this particular time of the year. It's so difficult to grow a YouTube channel. Not only has it grown, it has surpassed my expectations. So I wanted to thank you, Mark, and all the people out there that support Golden Blue Dude. We're having a heck of a 2 weeks right now.
Absolutely. That's awesome. And that's your hard work, your personality, everything you lay out there each and every day in terms of content. Travis, what you got going on at Last Word on College Football?
Well, I finished up my position previews. I did my JT Daniels article. I did my article on our 4-star commit, son of Jeremiah Trotter. Stole him right out of Penn State's backyard. And that's, I'll be doing my spring preview, the spring game preview next week, and watching the spring game with excitement like the rest of you all.
I'm getting some questions coming in about tomorrow's schedule. So last week with Clemson, Florida State, and others on the field, we went live from noon to 7. We were all over the place covering spring games. Tomorrow, we've got Ohio State on the field at noon. We'll do a Ohio State watch party at noon. We will also pick up Miami's playing at the same time. I will do a speed watch on Miami after the Ohio State watch party, and then we'll do Miami post. And then Alabama and Georgia obviously have to be a priority as well. So I will send out the notifications and you guys lock it in, and we will be full throttle on Saturday with spring football.
By the way, I appreciate Tim Prangley for your support on Golden Blue Dude. A USC fan. That's what I'm loving about Golden Blue Dude. We're having a lot of fan bases now. So awesome stuff, man. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. That is awesome to see. All right, guys, appreciate you doing this and making this happen, because without you, we don't have a West Virginia channel or a West Virginia show without Travis. Chris, without you. So again, Travis's work, Last Word on College Football, Golden Blue Dude, of course. Get on over to his channel. All right, guys, have a great weekend.
Football. This wouldn't be here without him as well. So if you're not subbed to Voice of College Football, get it done.
We're here doing our thing as well. So see you guys next week. Have a great weekend.
All right, y'all. Take care.